We are an amazing people, torn from our tribes, our family, our country, to be tossed and tortured in slave dungeons, although many were lost along the way. Hundreds of thousands came across a mighty ocean in shackles and chains on filthy, wretched ships. Naked to the world, we stood on auction blocks to be sold like prime cuts of meat, as if we did not possess souls. Our humanity was never acknowledged. Whipped and made to toil on foreign land so that America could become mighty, wealthy, and arrogant. Never recognizing our intelligence, talents, tenacity, strength, and incredible resolve. Never recognizing our contributions to its very position in the world. But what they underestimated most has always been our undeniable and steadfast faith and belief in one true Master, our God. Oh, Juneteenth is a day that many of our ancestors dreamed of, could taste somewhere in the depths of their souls, but never got to experience. Even with that faith, it is difficult to fathom how they held on to hope. Even through Black Lives Matter turmoil, we find a way to muster up hope. When we celebrate this day, Juneteenth, let us honor our ancestors. Let us honor their faith and hope. They survived through unspeakable evils that many of us could not and would not want to imagine. When I reflect on our families in the plantation quilt, I want to tell them this: born to a world where white is pure, where black is soot and dirt, yet you work with dignity, with pride, with grace, though your heart is heavy with hurt. Born to a world where white is pure, where blackness has little worth, but God plants his seeds in dirt called soil, a soil that nurtures and feeds the earth. Born to a world where white is pure, where you struggle just to survive. Know that your harvest is near. Toil in faith, have no fear. Soon you will flourish and thrive. September 22nd, 1862 was when the Emancipation Proclamation was completed and done. However, it wasn't until January 1st, 1863 that President Lincoln actually stood in front of people and issued this proclamation so that people would be free. However, that information did not get to Texas until 2.5 years later. President Abraham Lincoln, sent Major General Gordon Granger with a Union army to Galveston, and they went to the Ashton Villa. And it is there that the major actually stood up and read the Emancipation Proclamation, and people realized that they were finally free. So that's where the celebration. So there was a long period of time where probably a few states and a few people didn't get that information because there wasn't television, there wasn't internet, there wasn't, and so people could go longer and the people were fooled. But there was whispers about it. So it wasn't like the slaves were totally ignorant of it. They heard things about it. When this George Floyd murder occurred, many companies and organizations sent out messages of support. And Cotuit definitely sent out a beautiful message of support. I was touched by their message, and I wrote back. David Keene, the director of Cotuit Center for the Arts, said to me, "Robin, it's time for white people to listen to Black stories." And I'd love for you and your husband to come over to the center, and I'm going to invite Kathy Lynch Nutting, the president of the board of directors, and the four of us can sit down and have a conversation.
It was really time for us to listen and learn, and that what we as an organization needed to do was to really open up our doors to that kind of learning. And out of that grew this Black Lives Matter program.
I take great pride and an honor in creating this work because I'm telling a story that I want to tell, that before this I didn't have the opportunity to say it. You know, there's lots of things that have been on my mind that have bothered me. And in these stories, in these presentations, I get the opportunity to say, this is what I think. I get to use my voice. And there's a power in using your voice. If we're not telling the true story of America, then what are we telling? So no matter how ugly it is, how pretty it is, how whatever, it's the truth. History should be based on truths, not on the impressions that we want to make. So in my stories, I try to find truth. Instead of telling white people or talking to whites about what privilege is, I find it more interesting and more compelling to talk about what privilege isn't.
I grew up in one of those families that skin color didn't matter. That's what I was told, that's what I was taught. And the fact of the matter is that is not true. And that's one of the things that has become crystal clear to me in the last year or so. My experience is very different as being someone with privilege and being able to go anywhere and basically do anything and not be afraid, not be nervous, where I have come to understand that the disparities in life experiences are much more extreme than I ever thought possible. I think the center has a responsibility to not just say where we provide opportunities for everyone to create and experience art. We need to be better about reaching out to populations that we're not reaching at this point. And looking at programs like Black Lives Matter, or even looking at theater programming, music programming, how do we get the type of art on our stage, in our gallery, that people from the Black community and people of color, other people of color, want to come and experience. And we need to be better with that. And I'm hoping that this Black Lives Matter has really swung our doors open to a much wider audience. And because we're all better for it.
There's so much to talk about. And I'm just so blessed to be able to tell the story. I'm grateful. Heard some talk of freedom in the Texas wind, spoken in soft whispers, time and time again. Then Major General spoke loud and crystal clear. Emancipation Proclamation, mercy finally here. Praise God.